All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, back is the incredible AAF podcast. That is the All About Football podcast. I'm not alone. I'm always rolling with my teammates. I've got Spuda, I've got Mneva, and I've got Sfiso with me in the building today. Right, let's get straight into the thick of things. I'll start with you, Sfiso. Let's talk Brighton versus Man U. What are your thoughts in terms of your chances on this one? Do you think the midweek game and the win will give you guys a bit of confidence? How do you think you guys will fare, Sfiso?
Firstly, defensively, it's given the coach a lot to think about. I think Eric Bailly had a solid game in defense. I think Brandon Williams was much better at left back, but he gives us an option on left back and right back. I still don't understand why Ufosu Mensah started, but I don't think he'll be starting, or probably even on the bench this weekend. Looking for a comfortable away win.
Just on that, you touched on defensive probabilities or defensive capabilities. Mike Smalling, as Van Gaal called him, is sort of available for you guys, but you guys are not showing an interest. What's the stance there? What are your thoughts on that situation?
Apparently, according to the coach, he's not in his plans. But if the guy is not in his plans, then let him go. The one thing I liked about previous manager, Louis van Gaal, if he's not going to use you, he'd let you go early, he'd let you sort out your life, your family issues, and join a new club. So in this case, apparently Roma wanted him. Of course, we want to make money instead of loaning him out again. But I just feel for Smalling at this stage. He's given a lot for Man United. He hasn't been the greatest, but we should have just let him go.
All right, fair enough. And then just tell me, in terms of a young up-and-coming star, Lamptey, what are your guys' plans to deal with Lamptey? He's caused a lot of strife in his first 2 games this season. How are you guys going to mitigate that risk?
If I'm not mistaken, Lamptey is a right back. Is it right or left back?
Right back.
Right back. Look, I mean, playing at right back, Marcus Rashford shouldn't struggle against a Lamptey. One, a little bit more experienced, a little bit more skillful. Not that I'm doubting Lamptey's capabilities, but yeah, our wingers shouldn't have a problem with Lamptey. We have good enough wingers to take on Lamptey, to challenge Lamptey. That's how I feel, at least. We're just discouraged by the goals we concede, man. Sometimes the team gets demoralized when you concede cheaply or easily. That's where I'll leave it for now.
All right, fair enough. Mneva, let's touch base with you. I want us to discuss quickly Crystal Palace and Everton. Look, Calvert, James, Richarlison, it's all dovetailing so well. What are your thoughts with regards to their chances against Palace?
I think it's going to be a good game. I think Everton is doing well. They've signed well. Calvert-Lewin is on good form. I think they have the right balance with James coming in from the right. And I mean, you look at that midfield that they have of Doucouré, Alain, Gomez, it's almost perfect. So I think it's very important for Crystal Palace if they can get Milivojevic in. If they go and they play the 2 midfield like they have been in McCarthy and MacArthur, then I think the Everton midfield will be a bit too much for them. So my prediction would be that if Milivojevic is fit, I think they'll bring him in just to have that battle in the middle of the park. So prediction-wise, I think it will be a draw because both teams are in decent form, especially with Crystal Palace and Zaha. So I think that will be a very interesting game, actually.
Speaking of Zaha, he's coming through clutch with his contributions. Mneva, do you think the Everton backline can cope with him? Particularly when you look at the likes of Digne, who do push forward from time to time. With Zaha coming in from those angles, do you think they can cope with Zaha, the Everton defense?
I think they can cope, but I think that's one area where Everton have struggled, and I don't think they will have enough to actually cope with them. I think it will be more a case of who can do better in the middle of the park, because their defense has always been shaky, and I do know that they're trying to get a centre back in. So I think that's one opportunity that Palace can play on is that defense.
All right, cool. Let's go across to another game. Spuda, West Bromwich Albion is taking on Chelsea, who seem to have found their stride a bit. Spuda, what do you think with Havertz having broken his duck and he scored a hat-trick recently? How do you think Chelsea should line up? We've got Timo Werner, we've got Olivier Giroud, we've got Tammy Abraham, all as options for the upfront. Spuda, how do you think Chelsea should line up both upfront and I guess any other position you might want to touch on?
For me, I've always said to Chelsea fans, more especially when they ask me, is that if you want to see the best of Timo Werner, line him up with Olivier Giroud. You know, Giroud will bring out the best in him. So for me, you know, since your aces are unavailable in Pulisic and Hakim Ziyech, you know, which if they fit, obviously, you know, you think immediately the 4-2-3-1. But since they're not fully fit as yet, you know, go with the 3-5-2, you know, SP, Thiago. I'm a big fan of Tomori. I had a couple of debates with Chelsea fans about Fikayo Tomori. I'm a huge fan of that Lamptey. And I feel Frank, you know, should throw him in, especially it's a perfect season. He's got Thiago next to him. It's a perfect time to really throw him in there and see what he does next to experienced campaigner. So that would be my back three. And then you've got Reece James, right wing back, Kante, Kovacic in the middle of the park. Left wing back would have Marcus Alonso if Ben Chilwell is still, you don't want to rush Ben Chilwell into things, so I'd definitely start with Alonso, especially Ben playing in midweek. You know, he's still coming back from injury. And then give Havertz the free role and line up Timo Werner with Olivier Giroud. For me, you want to see the best of Timo Werner, line him up with Giroud. Perfect opportunity. Yeah, West Bromwich Albion, Chelsea, go for it. Why not?
All right. Perfect. You should mention that. You're speaking as though it's almost a free hit for Chelsea. With Slaven Bilic's first couple of games not going according to plan, being kicked out of the Carabao Cup, what do you think is going on with him? Is Slaven Bilic is he starting to feel the pressure, Spuda, in this role?
I think if we also look at Slaven's record, I think he's always been an emotional manager. You know, he wears his heart on his sleeve. I remember Arsenal playing Besiktas in the Champions League qualifier, and he got sent to the stands. You know, so he's always been an emotional character. I think he was suspended at West Ham also in 1 or 2 games. So I don't think it's pressure. I think it's just he's just an emotional character. But yes, I think he with the lack of spending, his back is slightly up against it, especially now with starting with tough opponents in Everton and now Chelsea. And Leicester, you know, who did very well last season, who've shown this season as well that they might continue to be a problem. So I don't think it's pressure as such, but I think he will be wary that, you know, with the lack of spending, the quality that he has, that his back is slightly against the wall.
All right, cool. Sviso, let me touch with you. Sheffield and Leeds. How important is Klitsch to the Leeds effect in terms of their stability and in terms of just them showing up on the day, Sviso?
Hey, I don't think it's just Klitsch. There's a lot of talented boys in that Leeds team from the Brentfords. Yeah, there's just a lot of talent in that team. I don't think it's a team in an individual brilliance of Klitsch, but it does play an an influential role. I mean, it's going to be a nice encounter, but in Sheffield, I don't see them bringing that form that they had last season into this one, because already they're showing their struggles. Look, in football, you do need that little bit of luck. Same applies when Leicester won the league the following season. You know what I mean? They didn't bring that form again. So I don't see that being much of a contest think it will be an easy or comfortable win for Bielsa.
Never. Sfiso touched on it now. Sheffield having a tough going in the first couple of games. What do you think is contributing to this shaky start for them?
I think, for me personally, Sheffield don't have those creative players that you need who can kind of pull you out of danger when you're having a bit of a bad game. They have a very good structure, and it was working last season, but more and more teams are figuring out how to play against Sheffield. You'll notice that most teams now, as soon as they face Sheffield, they will go with the same formation of 3-4-3, and that's kind of stifling them a bit, and they don't have that individual brilliance that you need sometimes to pull you out of those games and give you a win or a draw. And also, I think their lack of signings is also playing a big role. Their marquee signing was replacing Dean Henderson, who was there on loan. So they had to bring in Ramsdale for around 20 million. Another signing that they have is Ethan Ampadu from Chelsea on loan, and he's more defensive player, in that midfield role, which I don't think they're struggling in that department, but more up front. If you have the likes of McGoldrick, who are not really lethal, they will give you legs. They are honest players, but if the likes of Oli McBurney are struggling, then Sheffield really, they don't have that bite that is needed to win their games. Solid structure though. I think they will recover from this blip, and I think for them they would need to bring someone in before the window closes just to add that spark. I think they're lacking that.
Okay, fair enough. Moving on to a team that certainly isn't struggling from the looks of things. Spuda, let's talk about Manchester City versus Leicester. City obviously favourites in this one, but you never know how things go. What are your thoughts on that fixture, Spuda? Who's taking it? In as few words as possible, give us your prediction on that.
Listen, tough encounter, but I think City will edge it. Leicester still lack a bit of balance for me. They've got that kid playing at left back, but he's actually a right back. So a bit of imbalance on Leicester's part. They've got Ndidi playing at centre back. So I think City will edge it 3-1.
Tough call, down to the score line. Thank you for that. Let's get to the marquee fixture for the weekend, Liverpool-Arsenal. Neva, I'll start with you. It seems as though the Gunners can't seem to lose. How important is that form going into this fixture?
It's very important that the boys have that confidence, especially when you're facing a team like Liverpool. It helps that we've already faced them twice in the past few months. Of course, we beat them when they'd already won the league, so you can argue that maybe their minds weren't there anymore, but also in the Community Shield, we got that draw. So I think from an Arsenal perspective, those results were very important, and they'll play a role come Monday. It will be a huge test for them. But really, we need to have everything perfect to face that side and win, especially with the acquisition of Thiago. That's a whole new dimension that we haven't faced before, so it will be a very interesting counter.
Sfiso never has touched on Thiago's importance and his threat as arriving. How do you think Liverpool will use him in terms of maybe lining up or in terms of the role that he'll play, Sfiso? Do you think he'll start the game for one, and what do you think his influence will be on the game day?
But I think he'll start the game. I think, he controls the midfield very well. He dictates, in fact, in there, from communicating with the forwards, from feeding them the ball, from introducing his wingers. Yeah, he's just a machine, mean machine in there. I think he'll start. I think he'll have a good game. It's going to be a nice contest between him and Granit Xhaka in there.
All right, great. Spuda, let's talk. Liverpool can score. We know this. We've seen it. I felt it recently as a Chelsea fan. Let's talk about your guys' capability to defend against their scoring threat. Where do you guys think you stand in this regard, Spuda?
Listen, there was a lot of positives, that was taken out of that game that we played in the Community Shield. I think we defended very well against them. We were very compact. The players were hungry. We had hard runners. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who I'm a big fan of, was man of the match in that game. So defensively, and remember the Anfield effect is not fully in motion, with the coronavirus and fans not being allowed in the stadium. So I think, maintaining concentration, Arsenal can defend well against Liverpool. But obviously, it's Liverpool. They can create chances, as you said. They can score. Big game for Gabriel if he starts, because Luiz had a very good game last night. So the coach might be tempted to start David Luiz, and for David Luiz's experience as well. But if he starts Gabriel, which is a bit of a wild card, could go either way. Big game for him, and it should be a really interesting and tough encounter. But defensively, Arsenal do give one or two chances away, but they've been much better. We've been much better under Mikel Arteta, and defensively, I think Arsenal can match up and step up.
All right, and then just to wrap up on the Arsenal-Liverpool fixture, we saw the effect of back-to-back games, if you will, on Willian in the game 2, where there wasn't as much influence as his first game. What are your thoughts on the game sort of load management on Willian and bringing in Pepe? How do you guys think he'll line up? Will he start? And what do you think his effect can be in the few minutes that he will play?
No, I think it will be very important. I think we need Willian in that game. We need his experience. You had Nicola Pepe, who's challenging him on that right-hand side, who played majority of the game, if not all, yesterday. So I think Willian will start. And also we need to remember that when we play Willian, we don't quite play the same way we do when we have Pepe. So Pepe likes to kind of hug the line mostly. He's your typical winger and he takes on players. But you'll notice that whenever we play Willian, he always drops into the middle of the park and occupy kind of that 10 role or that 8 role. So I think more from a tactical point of view, we would go with that approach again. So I see Willian starting. I think for now it's still early in the season for us to really be concerned with his fitness, considering his age. But I think that's very crucial throughout the season. We really need to manage him well because, he's not so young anymore. He's got quite the mileage, on his legs. So I think you are right in that we will need to manage him throughout the season, but I don't think we should be too concerned come Monday. Yes, he struggled last week, but I think he's always had that kind of issue even at Chelsea where there's some moments where he's a bit cold, but hopefully against Liverpool he can start as he did in our first game week.
All right, perfect. That'll do for the EPL for now. Let's do our speed wrap-up of things around the world. Gentlemen, in 20 seconds or less, give me your thoughts on the following issues. I'll start with you, Mneba, while I've got you. Suarez moving to Atleti, Morata to Juventus. How do these deals pan up or match up? Which deal makes sense more for which club? And do you think they'll be successful moves?
With regards to which deal makes the most sense for which club, I think the Juve Morata deal makes more sense. I think they've lacked that strike, especially now. They've lost Higuain, so bringing Morata in, who was already proven at Juve. Remember, he had a good spell there. So I think they're signing someone who they know what to expect from him. They know he won't need much time to settle. It's kind of like a second home to him. So I think that's a very good deal. And for Suarez, I'm not so sure on the Atletico side. I think, if they did not have Costa, then I would say, wow, that's a great deal. But now I ask myself, what's going to happen with the two of them there? Suarez is a great player, but now you have 2 over 30s in your team. Does that mean the end of the road for Costa? Or can they fit both of them in with Joao playing behind them? So that's a bit of a tricky one.
All right, Scooter, let's go to you. What are your thoughts on those moves?
Not much to add. I think Neva, summed it up quite well. But I did read reports of Diego Costa moving away from the club. So maybe also bringing in Suarez was in preparation of that, And big fan of Suarez as well. I think he still got it. Boggles me how Barcelona, decided to let him go for nothing. So, so I do think maybe Atletico are planning for life without Diego Costa.
Business at Barcelona is looking like it's going in reverse. Sfiso, let's just get your thoughts on those two moves.
Yeah, now I saw it as a bit of a weird one because, like I said, Costa was still there. But then again, it looks like he's on his way out, especially given what has happened the previous season. I'm not sure exactly what's going on between him and the coach, but it does look like he's on his way out. And I don't think he'd be happy playing second fiddle to somebody because he sees himself as, if I'm here, I want to start. If I'm not starting, it's okay if I go to another club, whether it's Espanyol or, I don't know. The perfect move, Espanyol is just an example, but a perfect move for him, I'm sure, can be lined up to a bit of a decent club. Which country? We're yet to find out.
All right, perfect. Let's move over to Germany. With the come up of a lot of English youngsters in Germany, it's seeming like the hot place to be. So we've got your Jude Bellingham. We've got the latest guys, Jamal Bainu, Gitu. A lot of English youngsters. Jadon Sancho was the first to do it. Well, not the first, but amongst the latest to sort of thrive. So what do you think in terms of Germany being a place for these guys to hone their talent?
They believe a lot in the youth, man, in Germany. So it's not just the English, but also look at the wingers that they've brought up in the national team. They started young. I mean, how old was Thomas Müller when he started playing for the German international team? How old was Lukas Podolski when he started in the senior team? So they have a lot of belief on the youth. So they get it right. Somewhere, somehow, Angie, they just get it right with youngsters. I'll leave it there.
All right, Neva, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Fiso. You know, the Bundesliga is very good for youngsters, and generally, you know, you've got your young teams there. I think it's a good place for them to learn. I mean, as you know, the Germans are very efficient, and I think the football education there is quite good. And you know, there's less pressure to win week in, week out, unlike the EPL, which is extremely demanding. So maybe coaches there are kind of scared to give the youngsters a chance. So, you know, the Bundesliga, most of the teams, you do have youngsters there, so the coaches kind of unleash you and have faith in you. So I think it's a good place for them to learn their trade, and then hopefully a few years down the line, they can go to a slightly better league.
All right, Spuda, your thoughts?
Also, you know, these youngsters also get to play in Champions League as well. So, which is also good for their development and the growth. So yeah, prime place for youngsters to go. Germany, you know, is without a doubt, you know, one of the first picks. You know, you've got RB Leipzig, who are not afraid to throw them in there. When you saw the likes of Ampadu, you know, last season. So yeah, you know, playing in the top level against top players. Yeah, you know, if you're youngin, go to Germany.
All right, and then just to close on that, I want you guys to give me one word to explain your feelings on Bayern Munich's continued abuse of other teams in football. I mean, they gave Schalke 8 recently. Before that, they dominated Barca. Give me one word to describe how you feel about Bayern Munich right now. Spuda, let's go. One word.
Bullies.
Never. Your word?
Unfair.
Yes, Fiso, what's your word?
Insane. It's just insane.
All right, great. And then, yeah, that brings us to the end of the show with the last segment, Turkey of the Week. Gentlemen, let me put to you guys the two options, and then you'll give me what your thoughts are on the Turkey of the Week. So in option number one, I've got Luis Suarez cheating on his Italian exam and getting caught for that. Is he your Turkey of the Week, or is option two Kepa Arrizabalaga, who just is Kepa Arrizabalaga?
Kepa, I knew it.
Who's your Turkey, Sfiso?
Kepa, I knew it. You could not leave him out. Definitely Kepa.
He hurts me.
You can get away with eating.
It's definitely Kepa, my man. You know, we always try and give him a chance week in, week out, but he stays being the Turkey that he is.
Spuda, your Turkey?
It has to be Suarez. I mean, we've had a lot of situations, a lot of instances where goalkeepers make mistakes, or goalkeepers, you know, are the reasons why a team lose. But I've never ever heard of in football where a player cheats on a test so he could get a passport. I've never. It's the first. That's the first time this has ever happened. So for me, Luis Suarez, if he's not biting people, he's flipping cheating on tests. So Luis Suarez for me, without a doubt.
All right, thank you for that, gentlemen. That brings us to the end of our preview for this weekend's upcoming games. This is, once again, ladies and gentlemen, the AAF podcast. That is the All About Football podcast. Like, subscribe, give us your comments, tell us your thoughts, give us your predictions. Just interact with us. We're there on Instagram, we're there on YouTube. So hit the like button, follow, and keep watching. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.
Away, gents. Away.